What is going on, guys? We are here with my first video of the Dragonflight Alpha. Yes, Dragonflight Alpha is finally out. Make sure you go check your Battle.net launcher if you haven't yet. See if you got access to it, if you signed up to it, right? You can start playing the new Evoker class, go play the Draktyr, start going into the new Dragon Isles, the new areas there, start doing a little bit of quests. It's looking really good so far. But yes, it came out last Thursday, and I've been kind of holding off on making videos. I wanted to see what all was on the alpha before I started to make videos on it. But the very first piece of information that we got once the alpha was up is that group loot is coming back to World of Warcraft. Yes. So when the alpha got updated Thursday at noon, when the alpha went up, the servers went up, a whole bunch of interviews from a whole bunch of YouTube content creators came out, and in one of those interviews, Ian Hazakostas was interviewing with Towley. He's a streamer and a WoW content creator on YouTube, and Towley basically asked him the question. He was like, Master Looter, Group Looter, what is going on? And Ian came out and said, the players won. And it sounds awful to say it like that the players won, but Blizzard finally realized that personal loot not isn't bad for the game, because it's obviously very good for the game, but people are going to work their way around personal loot any way possible to make these degenerate things, as we saw with the World First race. We saw them run multiple splits to get tier gear, just to get gear in general. We even saw lower ranked guilds doing splits, right? Like we saw US 100 guilds doing splits. We saw US 100 guilds overtiming heroic and normal to get tier gear. So Ian Hazakostas basically came out and was like, you know what? Group loot is back. And there was another interview with Morgan Day where he said that they were contemplating bringing group loot back, but I guess he hadn't known that Ian Hazakostas had fully said it yet. But basically, they all have agreed upon that group loot is coming back. Though, the specific thing for it is that it's only in raids. So, dungeons are going to stay personal loot. Every other piece of content is going to be personal loot. But, group loot is back. Now, what does that mean? And as you can see here in the wowhead article, this will be in the description below if you want to go read it yourself. I'm not going to read the whole thing. But, Ian Hazakostas makes it very clear. He made it very clear that group loot is not master loot. You do not get a certain amount of gear that you can then specifically target towards players in your raid. So ninjaing, stuff like that just isn't going to exist, right? Like, people aren't going to be able to master loot gear to themselves. They still have to roll upon it if they want it. They have to roll against other people that want it as well. But the one thing I wanted to talk about with this change is, obviously, this is a very good change. A lot of raiders do really like group loot. A lot of raiders like personal loot. So you can obviously use either one for your guild, depending on what your guild wants to use. But when he says here in the article that group loot isn't master loot, it kind of shows that Ian Hazakostas doesn't actually understand how group loot is going to be used within a raiding context, specifically for higher end guilds. Obviously, how it works, piece of loot drops, it pops up, you hit need, greed, pass, disenchant, or you don't hit anything, right? And then it rolls and decides who gets the piece of gear. If you have never played group loot, if you haven't played classic or BC or whatever, it's basically a very simple system that works pretty effectively, right? But when he sits here and says that group loot is not master loot, he is very incorrect, because it is basically master loot, right? So what guilds are going to do is, when a piece of gear drops, everyone's going to wait. They're going to RC council. They're going to, loot council it out. And then the person that gets it is going to be the only person that rolls need. And everyone else is going to pass upon it. As a result, that person is going to be guaranteed to get the item, because it's need over greed for obvious reasons. And yeah, so group loot is going to be master loot. It is just simply going to be that. But it is not actually master loot, so pugs are not going to run into those situations where they will not be able to get loot, because the leader It's just giving themselves all of the loot. But it's very interesting to see that Group Loot is back, considering in Shadowlands, in BFA, in many interviews that they've done, they were very stern on the fact that they were not going to bring it back. But I do think that the most recent Race to World First kind of changed their minds on a lot of things. They've changed their mind on raid design. They've changed their mind on loot design. They've changed their mind on everything, because it was honestly really, really bad for majority of the player base. But it's, you know, it's something that has to be done, right? Everyone kind of wanted it back. Some people are very mad that it's coming back, but obviously you don't need to be in a guild that uses group loot. You can be in a guild that uses personal loot. There's probably going to be a ton of those out there. If your current guild is going to transition to group loot and you do not want that, then obviously you can leave the guild, find a new one. It's sad to say, but that's just how it is, right? It's the same with a loot council. Any guild that uses a loot council, right? If you don't like a loot council, you aren't going to be in that raid team. It's pretty self-explanatory. Is there anything else that was really important in this article? I think he brought up the fact that, what does it say here? This form of group loot will only be available in raid content, as I said, as the developers do not believe that there's a significant desire for that type of loot in a small party content where the chances of getting unusable items like a bow and the hunter is proportionally high. That is the one thing bad about group loot, is that it doesn't look at what gear, like what classes are in the raid. It just drops, the boss has a loot table and it just drops gear, right? So you might have one hunter and you might get like 3 mail pieces, right? And so your hunter, your hunter gets all those pieces of gear, right? So that is the bad part about group loot, but I think everyone is willing to take that risk because you are able to target the gear acquisition to specific members of your raid. This also removes trading restrictions, if you don't know. So when you go in, if someone has like a 265 for sigil, right, and they loot a 278 version of it, right, obviously that is an upgrade, but you might be able to give that to another member of your raid team, which would be an even bigger upgrade for them, which would help your overall group success, right? So just things like that are going to be really cool to see how it works out with group loot. My guild, I'm pretty sure, is going to be using group loot. So when we get closer to Dragonflight and when we're in Dragonflight, I'll let you guys know how group loot is going. But this is just basically the first thing that came about from wowhead, from all the interviews that I've been watching. So I just wanted to say and let you guys know that it is coming back. Let me know in the comments what you guys think about group loot. Do you want MasterLoot back? Personally, I don't think MasterLoot would be that great. But if you want MasterLoot back, let me know. Just let me know your opinion on it in the comment section down below. But I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.